spending all my time trying to find out more about you. Cause I really want you in my space, picking up every call, I'm falling, all my money's on you. I never knew I needed love, needed love, needed love. I always thought I'd be enough, be enough, be enough. You show me what it means to see outside of me. God knows what I'd be missing. Now I really need your love, need your love, need your love. I'm still believing that you might be the one thing to believe in. If I'm losing focus, it's cause I'm focused on you every single moment. You got me playing every card, spending all my time trying to find out more about you. Cause I really want you in my space, picking up every call, I'm falling, all my money's on you. I never knew I needed love, needed love, needed love. I always thought I'd be enough, be enough, be enough. You show me what it means to see outside of me. God knows what I'd be missing. Now I really need your love, need your love, need your love. I never knew I needed love, needed, oh, I need your love. I never knew I needed love, needed, yes, I need your love. Yes, I need your love. Oh, I need your love. Come on now. Hey. I never knew I needed love, needed love, needed love. I always thought I'd be enough, be enough, be enough. You show me what it means to see outside of me. God knows what I'd be missing. Now I really need your love, need your love, need your love. I need your love. Need your
I'm tickled pink that things aren't going my way, cause that would be boring. Spent my last cent on cheese and champagne. What a wonderful morning. Never mind, she declined to the first date. It was only on my birthday. Never mind all the lines on the highway. Give me time to reflect a bit, cause I'm just having a good day. Having a good day. Having a real good morning. I'm just having a good day. Having a good day. Having a
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the 53rd annual commencement of the Anesthesiology Master of Medical Science Program annual graduation ceremony. At this time, we're going to ask that you turn all cell phones in the vibrate mode or turn them off. We thank you and we welcome you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for coming. Graduates, please be seated. My name is Katie Monroe, and I'm the Academic Program Director for the Master of Medical Science program in Anesthesiology here at Emory. I would like to welcome you to our 53rd commencement ceremony. Today is a very exciting day. I know that many of our graduates have been counting down for months now. And family and friends, we're so glad that you're here. We'd also like to extend a warm welcome and a special thanks to Dr. Andrew Patterson, Chair of the Department of Anesthesiology, from the Emory University School of Medicine, Dr. Marilyn Bond, Associate Dean for the Health Professions, Dr. Cheryl Herron, Associate Dean for Community Engagement, Equity and Inclusion, Dr. Bill Ely, Associate Dean for Medical Education and Student Affairs, and to our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Carolyn Bannister. Thank you all for coming this morning to celebrate the achievements of our graduates. I would like to first invite to the podium Dr. Marilyn Bond to welcome you on behalf of the School of Medicine.
Good morning. What a wonderful day to celebrate and be grateful we are here. I want to bring you greetings on behalf of the School of Medicine Dean's Office, and especially our educational leader, Dr. Bill Ely, who is seated here in the front, and fortunately he was able to join us this morning. Graduates, during the past 27 months in the Anesthesiology Assistant Program, you received so many gifts. The first gift came from your faculty and staff. They spent countless hours guiding you through the intricacies of the program. They taught you and mentored you along the way with the goal of making you the very best in the country. Your family, friends, and significant others took this journey with you. They provided you with the gift of love and support, helping you through the trials and tribulations of school. Remember the gift of trust given to you by the numerous patients and families that allowed you into their lives. They placed their hopes of going to sleep calmly and waking up safely in your hands. As you leave Emory University School of Medicine with your well-earned degree, remember the gift of your education, staff, faculty, family, and the honor of caring for your patients. Congratulations on reaching this day, and enjoy this moment. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Drew Patterson. I'm the chair of the Department of Anesthesiology. I want to take a couple of minutes before we get on with the ceremonies to thank two individuals today who have really, what I would consider, elevated this program to new heights. The first one is Dr. Ron Hall. The contributions that he has made have come over a period of decades, literally. He was one of my mentors throughout the beginning of my chairmanship, and he has done an amazing job bringing this program into a national spotlight. He has linked us to institutions all over the country. His contributions come not just because he's an administrator, but he has for years been an outstanding clinician. And so I want to acknowledge him today because he will be retiring at the end of this calendar year. And it is with great appreciation that I want to say thank you for all the hard work that he has contributed to this institution and this program. The other The other person I want to thank is Jennifer Stever, and I want to just acknowledge something that she accomplished, which is truly an exception. When we have awards for the School of Medicine, they are the elite, the individuals who have done outstanding things, national leaders. It is quite frequently the individuals who get the awards are physicians, whether that's right or wrong. And this last year, for the first time in a long time, Jennifer Stever won one of the great awards for our institution. I want to acknowledge that and just let you know how much that means to our program, how much attention it brings within the School of Medicine and the university. So again, thank you for all your hard work and your contributions to the program. Finally, I want to congratulate the graduates. This program is truly one of the best in the country. You've worked very hard to get to where you are. The clinical demands of this program and the rotations that you go through, there is nothing more challenging in the country in terms of AA programs. I want to congratulate you for all your hard work and the wonderful job that you've done contributing during a pandemic, nonetheless. And congratulations for what you've achieved today, and to the families, thank you for being here for this event.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, let's try it again. Good morning, family. Thank you, thank you. My name is Cheryl Herron. And I was curious and delighted to be invited to speak this morning. And I noted that I was introduced as an Associate Dean of Emergency Medicine. So I don't know if that was by design that I'm here as an emergency medicine physician, but I am here if you need me. But more importantly, I bring greetings from the space of being the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer in the School of Medicine. And I want to thank the distinguished panelists, Dr. Monroe in particular, for asking me to be here, Dean Ely, Dr. Bond, and all of you for entrusting me to say just a few remarks of what I was asked to speak on, which is encouragement. And so whenever I give sort of remarks, I go into my soul. I'm a strong woman of faith. And this morning, I was given the word be, B-E. And I said, so what does that mean, and how can I impart what be means to all 32 of our graduates, their families, those of us who are here, and what be signified to me that I would share with you, to take with you, is to be curious. Be curious. You're brilliant, you have reached another pinnacle in your career, but it doesn't stop there, and it will continue to enhance who you will continue to be in this world. Be thoughtful. Be thoughtful. As one of millions of people on the globe, you will meet millions others. You will feel them, you will see them. You need to be thoughtful from the lens they are coming from, who they are, what their experiences have been, and how you can contribute to that. Be courageous. Be courageous and bold, because the world is in a place where we have never seen before when we consider the suffering of the many and what we as individuals can contribute in that space. Be kind, because kindness, I believe, will lead you in the place you want to be as you continue to grow in this space. And lastly, be still. That's pretty good. Because when we're still, we can literally hear. And when we hear, we can understand. And when we understand, we can be humble. And when we are humble, we can bring to the people around us what they need, which at the end of it is joy. And so on behalf of all that we bring to humanity, I congratulate the class of 32. this year, your families who have been a part of your existence, and I ask you to just be. Thank you.
Graduates, we're here. You've been working towards this day since, anyone know the date you reported for orientation? August 23rd, 2021. We've held this moment in our minds for quite a while now, and today we've come together to celebrate. I want to congratulate you on your achievement, and I want to recognize your hard work. You've completed your courses, you met your clinical hours and your case number requirements, and it's taken time, energy, dedication, and quite a bit of determination. Today marks an important milestone, your completion of the Emory Anesthesiologist Assistant Program. You're crossing this very remarkable finish line, you're closing this chapter, and you're beginning a new one. We've all heard the proverb that it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to get through AA school as well. No one does it alone. I want to echo Dr. Bond's sentiments, and graduates, I want to take a moment to pause, to reflect on, and to thank those people who have supported you along the way. Family, friends, classmates, perhaps friends and classmates who have become like family during this time. I hope that many of these people are here with us today in the sanctuary, and others may be streaming from afar. I can't name all those people who make up your village, but you can. You know. No doubt these people have played a role in your success. I'd also like to recognize and to thank the people on our end who make all of this possible. Thank you to the School of Medicine, to the Department of Anesthesiology. Thank you to our clinical sites for their support. As a student, you might not always see the role that these important folks play behind the scenes in enabling all the opportunities that you have, but I assure you, their support is essential. Thank you to our faculty, both didactic and clinical instructors, who have invested their time and energy into your education and training, in the classroom, in the lab, in small groups, and in the operating room. Thank you to our staff, who are strategically positioned all around us today to make sure that this day is special for you. They do this work from the start, from when you begin your application through when you get your diploma, in support of you, and we would not be here without them. Your success in this program and the well-being of the Emory program itself would not be what it is without all of these hardworking and dedicated individuals. Graduates, please take a moment and join me in expressing thanks to everyone who has supported you along this academic journey. Now, let's present this year's awards. One moment. Thank you. All right, we are going to begin with graduates who have received highest honors, which is a GPA of 3.9 or higher. And graduates, when I call your name on this, if you could please stand up. I'd like to recognize Carlos Hernandez Alonso. Hidayah Salman. And Rachel Smith. Congratulations. I would also like to recognize our honor graduate, and that is having achieved a GPA of 3.8 or above. And that, if I could please have Jessica Homitz please stand up. Congratulations, Jess. Next, we have the Steinhaus Award. The John E. Steinhaus Award for Academic Excellence is presented in honor of the founder of the Master of Medical Science program in Anesthesiology of Emory University School of Medicine. As the first chair of the Department of Anesthesiology at Emory University School of Medicine, Dr. John E. Steinhaus established the program in 1969. His insight into future clinical needs of the anesthesia profession led Dr. Steinhaus to set high academic standards for anesthetist education, particularly in the areas of physiology and pharmacology, and in the science of patient monitoring. This award is presented to the graduating senior who has maintained the highest overall grade point average and who, in the opinion of the faculty, exemplifies the qualities of academic excellence envisioned by Dr. Steinhaus. This year's award, and I have to add an extra little thing, it wasn't just the highest GPA, it was the highest possible GPA. Mr. Carlos Hanayas Alonso finished with a 4.0 GPA. Dr. Hall will present the next awards.
Morning. I'm Ron Hall, the Clinical Program Director. Before I present the two awards, I would like to thank Dr. Patterson for his very kind comments. It's been my pleasure to serve as Program Director for, well, lo, these many years. The first award is the Nagel Award. David was one of my students some years ago. It is the award for clinical excellence, presented in honor of David Michael Nagel, a 1976 graduate of the master's program. His exemplary clinical skills, dedication to his patients, and outstanding personal qualities made him an excellent role model for future anesthetists. This award is presented to the graduating senior who has maintained the highest clinical grade point average and who, in the opinion of the faculty, best exemplifies the dedication to clinical excellence demonstrated by Mr. Nagel. This award is presented to Sharon Lee. The next award is the Wesley T. Frazier Achievement Award, named to honor and acknowledge the boundless energy and tireless efforts of the former director of the anesthesiology program. Dr. Frazier, through selfless dedication to the concept, the students, and the graduates, persevered and led the development of the educational program and the anesthesiologist assistant profession at the local, state, and national levels. This award is presented to the graduating senior who entered the program from a non-clinical background and who has maintained one of the highest levels of academic performance both in the classroom and clinical. This award further recognizes a strong element of initiative, persistence, and self-motivation in the development of clinical skills. This award is presented to Jessica Homans.
Hello, my name is Greg Jarvis, and I am the chair of the Progress and Promotions Committee that oversees the faculty advisor relationships for the students at Emory University's Anesthesiologist Assistant Program. Today I'll be presenting an award named in memory of Justin Lunt, who was a student in our program during the years of 2020 and 2022. Through his everyday actions, he modeled a selfless and caring energy that created a long-lasting impact on all who knew him. The Justin L. Lunt Memorial Award is presented to a graduating AA student who has demonstrated unwavering professionalism, who looks out for his fellow classmate and human, who conduct and actions model the high standards of the Emory Anesthesiologist Assistant Program. The student receiving this award today has demonstrated his knowledge, kindness, and unwavering sense of duty to his fellow human, transitioning his skills from the battlefield to the surgical field. I am happy to present the award to none other than Anesthesia Wen.
Thank you everyone for being here today. In 1926, Nobel Prize winner Willem Einthoven remarked to Carl Wiggers, "The truth is all that matters. What you or I may think is inconsequential." I apologize in advance to the families and loved ones in the audience. This speech will probably sound like a combination of a vocabulary lesson and a Frankenstein's monster of mixed metaphors, but there's one man who I hope will appreciate what I'm going to say. For definitions, please ask the graduate with whom you are here today. There's so many things that can be said for a career that spans more than half a century. Dr. Hall, these remarks are merely coming from someone who has known you for less than 4% of that time and who honestly possesses a less than average attention span. To be precise, on page 5 of his first respiratory physiology lecture, and as his cohort and many before us know, there were more to come, Dr. Hall made a point to distinguish between looking and seeing. He defined looking as turning one's eye to an object, contrasted with seeing, for which the following definition was given. The perception of an object enables identification and comprehension. Looking out, the view is pretty good from up here. And I don't mean from here at the pulpit, and I don't mean from the top of the mythical mountain upon which we tell our patients the oxygen that they're breathing has been bottled. This class, and in case you weren't aware of the exact figure, 1,197 anesthesiologist assistants before us all stand upon the shoulders of a giant. A bit of his story. Dr. James Rowland Hall. From 1958 to 1985, Dr. John E. Steinhaus served as the chair for Emory's Department of Anesthesiology. For those of you who aren't in the know, and probably that's everyone who isn't Dr. Hall, he's the guy whose research promoted our favorite Class 1B sodium channel blocker from its simple utility of a local anesthetic agent to an antiarrhythmic drug. And oh yeah, he also popularized its use during induction because he noticed that it suppressed airway reflexes. Dr. Steinhaus also noticed that there was a shortage of quality anesthesia care for patients undergoing surgery. Demand for anesthesia was higher than supply. Against the insistence of his colleagues that anesthesia would eventually be provided on a 1-to-1 ratio by physician anesthesiologists alone, he could perceive the tea leaves and knew the care team model was a more sensible solution. Enter stage left, eager James. In 1969, Dr. Steinhaus and colleagues put together a crack team of young scamps who bravely launched the profession we find ourselves entering today. James Hall was in the very first class of AAs to matriculate. But like anyone with a curious mind and sufficient drive, for James's education, there was more to come. For reasons that are his own, soon-to-be Dr. Hall continued his training to obtain his medical doctorate from Emory in 1975 and completed his residency in critical care fellowship in 1979 at the University of Florida. If it isn't yet clear, Dr. Hall and anesthesia go way back. In 1979, Dr. Hall rejoined us here in Atlanta to serve Emory School of Medicine as an instructor in the Department of Anesthesiology until 1998, a full year before the youngest member of our cohort was even born. From 1979 to 1988, he served as director of the Master of Medical Science program in critical care medicine. And if that wasn't enough, starting in 1999, Dr. Hall turned over a new leaf as he began work as a clinical program director for the Master of Medical Science program in anesthesiology. That's us. As a fun fact, the elevated platform upon which we find ourselves at this moment, when speaking in terms of church architecture, is called an ambulatory. Dr. Hall, the students who are going to ambulate across this stage today came to you in a state of ignorance, and you have enlightened every one of us. I'm pretty confident that none of us knew about the varying courses of the recurrent laryngeal nerves, or the functions of the intrinsic laryngeal muscles they innervate, but much like the lights at the end of our laryngoscopes, you showed us the way. You provided the foundation upon which we now stand as we enter our careers as patient advocates and shamans. You are the reason we know how to mix our potions that summon the Sandman. You're the reason we know how to safely shepherd our patients along the shadowy and unknown roads that for many people, going under the knife represents. You also taught us that cyclodextrins are there to mop up the mess at the end of the journey. While on the topic of air fresheners, I'd like everyone to take a nice big deep breath. When going on a new journey, it's always important to have a full tank of gas. Dr. Hall knows this better than anyone. Almost exactly 1 cup, the infamous 242 milliliters, could be all that stands between a healthy heartbeat and a heart that beats no more. While 1 cup of gasoline won't get you far on a road trip and you're frankly dope cheap, that's just simple thermodynamics. 1 cup of a different kind of gas could prevent a tragedy from taking place. You help translate the Goff-Gratch equation into a computationally useful format so that physiologists could better model alveolar gas exchange with greater fidelity. Everyone walking across this stage today, in no small part because of you, now understands how important taking a few deep breaths can be. I'm not sure anyone is able to know how many poor outcomes have resulted from disregard or ignorance of tau, its relationship to Dalton's law, functional residual capacity, bulk flow, body temperature, the assumed makeup of our patients' diets, but we learn from the mistakes of our antecedents. We call this evidence-based medicine. You gave us the evidence. You had us grind our way through algebraic expressions that represent life, death, and those outcomes in between to instill in us not only knowledge, but comprehension, perception. It makes us better caretakers. Getting back on track, the allegory of the cave is an apt metaphor for the part of your career we students can best appreciate. In no small part due to your insight and tutelage, we can analyze the strange shadows made when highly collimated energetic photons penetrate bodily tissues to varying degrees. You taught us to interpret these strange images and analyze them, note the costophrenic angles and cardiac borders, counting ribs and vertebrae, to establish anatomic landmarks, providing a map and new vocabulary to steer through the literally dark interiors of our patients. And if even that isn't enough, you taught us how to use the tools of our trade, and just as importantly, how not to. We tell our patients to pull their chins up high as we align their oral, pharyngeal, and laryngeal axes in preparation for induction. We use these strange curved spatulas with flashlights at the end to navigate fauces and posterior pharyngeal walls and hope to arrive at some arytenoid cartilage. And if the path up ahead isn't clear, we know the next turn is not along the fulcrum formed by the central incisors. We can turn to an LMA. You might reach for your pocket bougie. You have imbued each of us with this newfound vocabulary and these novel concepts. Words establish the boundaries of our ability to understand and discuss reality. Because of you, we can perceive and identify and comprehend what we are looking at. You made every one of us see it. Like the yttrium aluminum garnets doped with neodymium, you have multiplied your light, made it shine more than 3 orders of magnitude brighter through the AA profession alone. You gave us the invisible kind of light, not the aforementioned X-rays, but the one that was passed from the stalwart torch inside of you. You have given each of us more potential than that measured by the slow oxidation of a heavy metal on the inspiratory limb of an anesthesia circuit. For we as students, we've been told about anesthesia being both an art and a science. You taught seemingly everyone the science. You made sure we understood what you were teaching. We had to navigate a life of offensively early mornings, learning the communication styles and expectations and personalities of the stranger who for the next 8 or so hours would be peering over our shoulders, judging every move that we made, and asking questions like, so are you from Atlanta originally? Or what's the mechanism of action of ephedrine? Or is Dr. Hall still teaching? And at the end of every long day of constantly scrutinized patient care, we had to fill out documentation about what we did and ask this hopefully kind, not so stranger anymore, to write something nice about us and email it to you so that you could keep tabs on our progress. You have advocated for our profession from the beginning. You've seen it grow and flourish through good times and bad. And now, after 54 years of service, you've reached an important milestone. Maybe we won't get a chance to look at you through the clouds of atomized lignin you'll be making as you enjoy your well-deserved retirement, but know that we do see you. We salute you in your dedication to ensuring that the next generation has been well-trained and well-equipped to take on the challenges ahead. It's easy to comprehend that you've built an empire, and from the view atop the shoulders of a giant, with all these lights illuminating the path forward, the view is magnificent. There's a lighthouse that shines atop City Hall. Enjoy your retirement. This profession will be in safe and competent hands, and we will all remain vigilant. It is with great pleasure that I can present to you a small token of the gratitude expressed by this class for everything that you have done for us. Please see it as only a mere microcosm of what anyone who is trained under your direction would feel upon knowing that you are not coming to the end of your road, but the beginning of the open highway. We hope you enjoy making sawdust with your newfound free time. Fill up your cup and delight in the journey ahead. And now for Ruby, our class president.
Hi, besties. Good morning, everyone, our honored and distinguished guests, faculty, family, classmates, friends. How great is it to look at each and every one of you where we were once strangers and now be able to call you a friend. It's crazy to think that we were sitting in orientation asking one another what our names are, where we're from, learning each other's fun facts during orientation just 2 years ago. Well, technically 2 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days ago, but no one's counting. On the first day of orientation, Seth Ehrlich taught us that anesthesia is a lot like flying a plane. You've got takeoff, where you're busy preparing to get the patient off to sleep, doing pre-flight checks and getting things in order. After you take off, you ascend to maximum altitude. You've adjusted your settings and found what works best for you, your patient, and your surgeon. And now you're cruising in the maintenance phase of anesthesia. If you're lucky, your OR nurse has great taste in music and you've got in-flight entertainment as well. Despite the imaginary anesthesia off switch that some people in the OR think we have, it's all hands on deck to prepare for landing and wake the patient up safely. And just like a great airline, we take great care ensuring their maximum comfort and safety. I realized this program is a lot like that analogy. We took off in August 2021 at full speed. It took a lot of preparation to get in and a lot of adjustment after we got in. After taking off, we found ourselves cruising, having found a balance between studying and clinicals. Then came time to land, all hands on deck to pass boards, take that last comp exam, finish those hours, and get ourselves down the runway, or graduation stage. We went from not knowing what propofol is to now having a preference on whether we like the blue cap vials or the yellow cap vials better. Yellow cap is obviously better. We started out practicing IVs on each other in sim lab, and now we're able to climb under the drapes, throw in an IV upside down while someone from surgery yells at anesthesia for being too close to their legs. We've experienced broken arms, broken ankles, broken backs, broken ankles again, broken backs again, broken ankles again. Same person as before, but she's fine now. We experienced all of our firsts together, first IVs, first intubation, first successful A-line, first cry from a baby during a C-section. But none of this would be possible without the numerous support systems that surround us. I want to start out by thanking the unsung heroes of the hospital, the anesthesia tech that helped you with a smile when they saw you scrambling at 7:22 a.m. to find something for a 7:30 start, the nurse that helped show you around on your first day and showed you where the break room is and gave you little tips about your surgeon's particularities so that you would have a good day. I want to thank the staff, the gears that keep the program running, Stephanie, Delquita, Jerry, Thomas, Marcia, Miss Eunice, Brandon. Thank you for all of your support these past 2 years, for every event organized, every last-minute email answered, every smile exchanged in the hallway of the suite. Thank you for all of your contributions to our education and experience during our time at the program. To the faculty, we thank you for your passion for teaching, for your commitment to nurturing a new class of AAs. We thank you for your instruction, your advice, in and outside of the classroom, and for the relationships we've fostered during these 2 years together. Your mentorship extends beyond the 187-slide PowerPoints that never seem to end. Okay, I might be exaggerating, they weren't that long, but at 5 p.m. on a Thursday, they sure felt that long. Your guidance and encouragement helped us reach this day, which seems so far in August 2021. As we begin our careers, we do so with the wealth of knowledge passed on from exceptional educators who have helped shape us into outstanding providers. Thank you. To our preceptors, we thank you for showing us the finesse of anesthesia, how to practice safely, confidently, and showing us what it truly means to be an advocate for your patient. We thank you for all of your patience every time we blew an IV, intubated the esophagus, missed an A-line, forgot things, spilled things, dropped things, unplugged things. Our practice is shaped by every preceptor we've worked with, and as we begin our careers, we do so with every tip and trick that you've showed us that has helped shape us into outstanding providers. To our families and friends, our support systems outside of the classroom and the operating room, we thank you for your support during our time in school. You were there every time we celebrated an IV, an intubation. You were there. You encouraged us on our days when nothing seemed to go right. You supported us through late nights studying for exams, early mornings trying to get to clinicals on time, clock in at 6 a.m. You were there during the tears of joy, the tears of frustration. There were plenty of those for me. As we begin our careers, we do so surrounded by love and support that has helped shape us into outstanding providers. To my classmates, thank you for every inside joke, every hug, every memory created, for every smile that was exchanged as we passed each other during in the hallways of the hospital, for every high five and fist bump every time one of us nailed our lines that day, for every silly mnemonic and Quizlet made to help us pass Jen Seaver's pharmacology class and boards. I'm not sure which one was harder. As we begin our careers, our time together will be fond memories that we look back upon that have helped shape us into outstanding providers. I'm honored to have taken this flight with each and every one of you. Despite some turbulence, we've landed the plane safely. It's time to disembark, each of us to our respective destinations. I'm pleased to congratulate you all. As a graduate, a friend, coworker to some, and certified anesthesiologist assistant. Congratulations, class of 2023. We did it, besties. On behalf of the class of 2023, I'm also honored to be able to present the awards for Best Classroom Instructor and Best Clinical Instructor. The award for Best Classroom Instructor goes to none other, our one and only Master of all things pharmacology, Jen Seaver. And now the awards for the Best Clinical Instructor go to none other than our one and only Lindsay Amerson. We actually have a three-way tie for Best Clinical Instructor. The next award for Best Clinical Instructor goes to our one and only Yolanda Green. And the last award for Best Clinical Instructor goes to Jennifer McDaniel at Emory University Hospital. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ruby.
I'd now like to introduce our speaker, Dr. Carolyn Bannister. She completed her medical training at Duke University School of Medicine and then completed residency training in internal medicine, pediatrics, and anesthesiology at Emory University School of Medicine. She was an assistant and associate professor of anesthesiology and pediatrics at Emory and a staff anesthesiologist at Emory University Hospitals until 1997, when she became chief of pediatric anesthesiology at Eggleston Children's Hospital. In 2015, Dr. Bannister accepted the position of chair of pediatric anesthesiology at Nemours Children's Health System in Jacksonville, Florida, where she was on faculty at Mayo Clinic, Jacksonville. Dr. Bannister led the department of Wolfson Children's Hospital through its transition to a Level 1 pediatric trauma center. She retired from Nemours and Mayo Clinic in December of 2022 and returned to Georgia to be near her son and granddaughters, who live in Roswell. Dr. Bannister and her husband live in Woodstock, Georgia, and she continues to enjoy teaching and working as an anesthesiologist, particularly with pediatric patients. She's currently employed with the Wellstar Health System. On a personal note, I had the pleasure of working with Dr. Bannister for 13 years when she was chief of pediatric anesthesiology at Eggleston. For as long as I've known her, Dr. Bannister has been a wonderful advocate for AA education and practice, and I also have the good fortune to call her my friend. Please welcome to the pulpit, Dr. Carolyn Bannister.
Good morning, everyone. I'm truly honored to be here on this exciting day in your careers. And I want to thank Dr. Monroe and the distinguished faculty members for inviting me to be a part of this. To the excited graduates, congratulations, and to the proud parents, grandparents, and other family members and friends, congratulations on this achievement in your loved one's career. I don't want to give a lecture today, but I did bring some slides because I want to talk about the history of our great profession. And I want to thank the support staff, too, of the program here who has helped pull this together today and has helped me so much. I want to say to the graduates, you have chosen a wonderful profession, as you no doubt already know by now. Anesthesiology is exciting, it's rewarding in so many ways, and it's gratifying at the end of every day to be able to say that we helped alleviate our patients' pain and suffering. And with rare exceptions, you will be your patient's favorite person of the day. They will tell you that. Whenever you let them know you're their anesthetist, they'll say, you're my favorite person. Doesn't mean they don't value the other members of the OR team, but they're very grateful for your expertise in caring for them and rendering them free of pain from their surgical procedures. I said I wanted to talk a little bit about our history today, the history of our great profession of anesthesiology. And as you know, Georgia is the birthplace of surgical anesthesia. The first person to administer ether anesthesia was Crawford W. Long in March 30th of 1842. And Crawford Long was born in Danielsville, Georgia. He graduated from high school by the age of 14 and entered the University of Georgia. While at Georgia, his roommate was Alexander Stevens, who was first vice president of the Confederate States during the Civil War. And Crawford Long graduated with a master's degree from the University of Georgia and then entered Transylvania University in Kentucky, where he worked for a year with a surgeon who was doing many painful surgical procedures on patients. And Crawford Long was always distressed by the fact that there was never an adequate analgesia or anesthesia modality for those poor patients undergoing surgery, some of them having amputations and other very painful surgical procedures. After a year of working in surgery, he entered the University of Pennsylvania for medical school and graduated from medical school in Philadelphia and then did his internship in New York, after which he returned to Jefferson, Georgia, and took over a small rural medical practice in Jefferson. He was not an anesthesiologist. He was a very busy family practice doctor. But when he was in medical school and internship, he and his colleagues would have ether parties. They called them ether frolics. And I guess ether was the preferred recreational drug of the day, which is kind of interesting because if you've ever talked to anybody who had an ether anesthetic, their memory is what violent nausea and vomiting followed their anesthetic. So I guess that wasn't a prominent part of Crawford Long's ether frolics, or maybe it wasn't enough of a deterrent that they continued to have ether frolics. But Crawford Long observed that he and others who were under the influence of ether would sustain fairly significant injuries, maybe a laceration, broken ribs, other broken bones, and traumatic experiences. But not only did they not have pain, but they didn't remember how they sustained the injury. And he committed that to memory and brought it back to his practice in Jefferson, Georgia. So the first patient that he had who required a surgical procedure was James Venable, who needed to have a mass removed from his neck. And Crawford Long offered him the opportunity of having an anesthetic, which he gladly accepted. And he inhaled ether during the surgical procedure when Crawford Long removed this mass from his neck. And at the end, when he regained consciousness, he told him he didn't feel anything, he did not move, and he had no memory of the procedure. So Crawford Long administered ether several more times over the subsequent years. He carefully documented the anesthetic and its effects, but he didn't publish his work. And in my mind, he was very busy. He had a busy office practice, and he made house calls 7 days a week. So I'm not sure how much time he had to write and to publish, but nonetheless, when he got ready to publish his work, he said, first of all, he wanted to try the ether technique more than once, twice, or maybe even 3 times to make sure that it was a reliable anesthetic before putting the idea out there. And also, he wasn't certain that there were not other physicians also using ether anesthesia, just as he was. And he didn't want to put himself out there as the first person if someone else had predated his use of ether anesthesia. So in October 1846, the first public demonstration of ether anesthesia took place in the Ether Dome, as you all know, in Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, and William Morton was the person to administer the anesthetic. But at that time, there were 2 other gentlemen who were claiming to be the first persons to acknowledge the anesthetic properties of ether. One was Horace Wells, he was a dentist, and the other was Charles Jackson. So the 3 of them were in conflict about who was actually the first person to come up with the idea. And they continued to have a squabble because at that time, Congress had put together a fairly attractive financial package to whoever the person was who could come up with painless surgery for patients. And it was $200,000. So the 3 of them were very much in conflict about who was going to get the award. Meanwhile, Crawford Long was pulling together his documentation. His patients gave him notarized letters that they had been his very willing recipients of ether anesthesia, and he put it out there in the medical community and presented it to Congress. But not during his lifetime did he ever receive credit for being the first person to administer anesthesia. And it wasn't until a year after he died that the medical community published and acknowledged, and so did Congress, that Crawford Long was actually the first person to administer ether anesthesia. And Crawford Long died at the age of 62 when he was doing a house call to deliver a baby. He suffered a stroke, and the family called in more medical backup to take care of not only the mother and baby, but Crawford Long. And when assistants got there, he said, "Take care of the mother and baby first, and worry after me later." And he did die subsequently of the stroke that occurred to him. But I think our rich history here in Georgia is worth reflecting on, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk with you about today. After Crawford Long was finally recognized, next slide please, Terrence. He was on the 1940 2-cent U.S. postage stamp. Long County, Georgia is named for Crawford Long. And for those of you who have done your training at Emory Midtown Hospital, that hospital for 78 years was known as Crawford Long Memorial Hospital. The hospital opened in 1931, it's Crawford Long Hospital, and then Emory acquired it in the 1990s, if I'm not mistaken, and changed the name in about 2008 to Emory Midtown. Today in Jefferson County, Georgia is the Crawford Long Memorial Museum. If you've never made a little day trip up to Jefferson, it's only about an hour north of Atlanta. It's worth going through the museum. You will not see anesthesia artifacts because, again, he was not an anesthesiologist. but the many tools of his trade that he used whenever he was practicing medicine in Jefferson. And if it's still there, his brother's pharmacy, Long's drugstore, is right down the street from Crawford Long's practice. And I think the museum is located in the medical building where Crawford Long practiced medicine for many years until he died. So that's the history that I wanted to talk about a little bit today. The other thing I want to talk about that is important to us is patient safety. And I think in anesthesiology, we always have to be advocates for our patient safety, no matter where our practices take us. If we're in the operating rooms or the ICU or pain clinics or pre-op or PACU, we always need to be staunch advocates for patient safety. And next slide, Terrence. I put on a slide, next one, a few advances that we have seen over the years in anesthesiology. And we're the very fortunate recipients of a lot of technology developed by our forefathers who then refined the technology and passed it down to us so that we can take very safe care of our patients today. And many of you know, I was an anesthetist before I was an anesthesiologist. And when I was a student in the dark ages, we didn't have an EKG machine in every OR. And that's unheard of today. But if you were the student assigned to pediatric anesthesia for the day, you got to the hospital very early, we got a rolling cart, and got the EKG machine out of the cysto room or some other room that had very few cases in it for the day. But not every room had an EKG. When I was preparing to take my certification exam after my training in anesthesia school, I looked up the definition of pulse oximetry. I'd never used one, but we had heard that this nice new monitor was coming to anesthesia care. And we also heard that we may have some questions on it on our certification exam. So I looked up pulse oximetry so that I could answer those questions intelligently. But now we would never think of doing an anesthetic today without an EKG and pulse oximetry and capnometry and intraoperative ultrasound that has made vascular access and regional anesthesia so much safer than days gone by when we just used anatomic landmarks and basically did a blind procedure. I want to talk to you about neuromuscular blockade monitors. The blockade monitor was introduced in anesthesia practice in 1958, but it wasn't until 1970 that anesthesiologists had any interest in using it to monitor the state of paralysis of our patients or the state of reversal of paralysis. So my point is, there's much more technological advances to be had in anesthesiology, and some of you young people will help contribute to those advancements. And if you have ideas about improved technology or even changing our practice, don't be reluctant to put it out there. It may not be embraced immediately, just like the blockade monitor took 12 years for people to have an interest in it. But over time, your ideas may come into common practice and will improve the care of our patients. The other thing I listed is sevoflurane. One of the reasons why pediatric patients in days gone by had to have an EKG in place was because we were using halothane, which was a very potent anesthetic. It had profound cardiovascular effects. And we would take these little ones who are a little bit on the dehydrated side because we were rigid about telling parents nothing, absolutely nothing after midnight. Now we tell them to get up at 3 in the morning, give them some Pedialyte. But we'd bring in the little ones and give them this very potent anesthetic, and it seems like almost all of them would get bradycardic and or hypotensive or both. And this was the reason why we had to have an EKG machine on all pediatric patients. Sugammadex, what more do we need to say about that? It has changed our practice for the better. And I listed dexmedetomidine because, as you all know, pediatric anesthesiologists have been concerned probably for 15 years or more about neurotoxicity of anesthetics in young children. And this concern arose because laboratory animals that were being studied in the 1970s and 80s, given volatile anesthetics, were shown to have apoptosis in their brains, or cell death. The neurons were dying after anesthesia. And the FDA became concerned about that, especially in young children. If this was happening, these detrimental events were happening to animals, what were we doing to our children's brains? Fortunately, as you know, there's some randomized control trials ongoing now looking at general anesthesia in young children compared to strict regional techniques to see if there's any difference in their developmental milestones and in their learning and in their scholastic achievements. And in the early publications, I'm happy to say that so far, young healthy children, ASA 1 and 2s, having brief surgical procedures, there's no difference in their learning and developmental milestones, general anesthesia compared to a strict regional. Now, there are many more questions to be answered, and some of you may help us answer those questions in the future. What happens to ASA 1 and 2 children who have 5 or 6 hours of general anesthesia? And what happens to ASA 3 and 4 children? We really don't have those answers. And we're certainly not going to look at their brains after they have an anesthesia, but we do have to follow what happens with them developmentally and looking at whether or not there are any learning disabilities going forward. I put dexmedetomidine because even in the early studies in the 1970s and 80s, compared to the inhaled agents, ketamine, and benzodiazepines, dexmedetomidine was already shown to be more protective in animal brains than the other agents that they were compared to. You all probably have already seen dexmedetomidine coming into common practice, and I think in your careers, you may actually see dexmedetomidine becoming more in the forefront and perhaps will even totally replace midazolam as a pre-medication for children at least. So I listed that as well. So the last thing I want to talk to you about is something that you all will experience personally. And next slide, Terrence, please. You all will encounter patients randomly, not all of your patients, but some that will really touch your heart for various reasons. And it may be that a patient reminds you of a family member or a friend, or it may be that you have so much compassion for a patient you're taking care of that's battling a wicked disease and having a big ugly operation that you're helping them with. And you can't imagine going through what that patient is going through. Or it may be that you're doing the anesthesia for a brand new technique and brand new operation, and you learn so much in that procedure from that patient that you know you'll never forget them. Or it may be how you remember feeling when you meet the parents of a 2-year-old who has a brain tumor, and those parents are feeling helpless and hopeless, but willing to do everything they can for their children. And in days gone by, when we all wore white coats, we used to say that we take these patients who grabbed our hearts and we put them in our white coat. And you take them with you forever because you learn so much from them. And we don't reflect on that often, but I would encourage you as you go through your careers, take time to think back about those patients who presented themselves, put their care in your hands, and trusted you to take care of them, and then you learn so very much from them. None of these are my patients on those pictures. I didn't have pictures of my patients, but every one of these remind me of a patient that I take with me in my white coat, and I still wear a white coat. But think about the patients that you learn so much from and who you're going to put in your virtual white coats, even if you don't wear white coats. And I just want to summarize by saying, always remember our history of where we came from, be staunch advocates for patient safety, and think about the patients that you take with you in your white coat. I want to congratulate you all on this development where you are in your career as you start your new careers. It's going to be very productive for you. I wish you the best. Go out there and do wonderful things in anesthesiology and help take good care of our patients. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for this time.
All right, graduates, if you could please rise to prepare to take the stage for the presentation of your diplomas. So if you'll go ahead and line up, we'll get you all situated before we start. Perfect. Now, by the virtue of the authority of Emory University School of Medicine, when I call your name, I confer upon you the respective academic degree for which you have been recommended, with all the rights, privileges, responsibilities, and obligations appertaining thereunto. And I offer my sincere congratulations. Courtney Bartlone. Rebecca Buchard. Tun Bao. Elisa Kachula. Michael Crisp. Trent Crouch. Aubrey Daniels. Anna Dent. Nick Arrett. Rachel Garces. Elizabeth Gonzalez. Carlos Hernandez Alonso. Ross Holbrook. Jess Homitz. Colin Istvan. Ashley Jandro. Kayla Johnson. Justin Kluwer. Sharon Lee. Amy Lynn. Alice Lynn. Andrew McCrae. Kalia McMichael. Van Nguyen. Ruby Rizvi. Hadiah Salmon. Amy Cerizzi. Rachel Smith. Taylor Smothers. Eden Tafisi. Hong An Vo. G. West. And now, graduates, if you will please rise. It is time to move your tassel from the right side to the left side. If ever you forget what side your tassel now goes on, please remember that you wear it on the left side over your heart to remind you of your challenges, your accomplishments, and your completion of the AA program. Congratulations, class of 2023. So this concludes our ceremony. We're asking for our guests to please remain seated until the graduates have exited the sanctuary. Graduates will gather for a photo on the steps outside of the church.